Hello all. Today I am here to present a PPT on source transformation of voltage and current source. Let me introduce myself. My name is K. Sainikru Verma from ITP and my roll number is 21951811266. Let's get into the topic. Let's discuss about the source transformation. A source transformation is the process of replacing a voltage source Vs in series with resistor R by current source Is in parallel with resistor R or vice versa. Source transformation is nothing but a source transformation is the process of replacing a voltage source Vs in series with a resistor R by a current source Is in the parallel with a resistor R or vice versa. The formula is Vs equal to ISR or Is equal to Vs by R. V equal to IR or I equal to V by R. Let's once observe about this pie chart. Sources, there are two types of sources: voltage sources and current sources. Voltage sources are derived. The voltage sources are of two types: ideal voltage source and practical voltage source. And current sources are of two types: ideal current source and practical current source. Sources are of two types. One is voltage source, and the voltage source is derived with two types: ideal voltage source and practical voltage source. And the second one is current source. Current source is also derived two types: ideal current source and practical current source. This is the formula: V equal to IR or I equal to V by R. A source transformation is the process of replacing a voltage source V in series with resistor R by a current source I in the parallel with resistor R or vice versa. Sources of two types: voltage sources and current sources. Next, now let us discuss about one by one. First, let us discuss about the voltage sources. Voltage source. Voltage source is a passive element which can create a continuous force for the movement of electrons through the wire in which it is connected. It is usually a two-terminal device. Voltage source is nothing but it is usually two-terminal device. Voltage source is a passive element which can create a continuous force for the movement of electrons through the wire in which it is connected. It is usually a two-terminal device. Types of voltage sources. There are types of voltage sources. First one is independent voltage source. There are two types: direct voltage source and alternating voltage source. Independent voltage source, there are two types. The first one is direct voltage source and the second one is alternating voltage source. Dependent voltage source. The second one, coming to the second one, dependent voltage source. In this dependent voltage source also there are two types: voltage controlled voltage source and current controlled voltage source. One is voltage controlled voltage source and the second one is current controlled voltage source. Next, current source. Let's discuss about the current source. In an electrical network, current source and voltage source are the basic concepts behind many electrical applications. Let's see what is current source. Ideal current source. A current source which supplies the constant current to connected across the load circuit regardless of the voltage developed across its terminals. Independent current source. Ideal current source and independent current source. Ideal current source is a current source which supplies the constant current to connected across the load circuit regardless of the voltage developed across its terminals. Independent current source supplies the direction of the voltage appearing across its terminal. Next, example for conversion of current source to voltage source. This is example for conversion of current source to voltage source. Consider the below example for current source transformation where current source is of 10A which is with a parallel resistor of 3 ohms. To calculate the value of voltage in voltage source, apply the simple Ohm's law, the V equal to I. Just substitute here. I equal to 10A, 30 volts. R equal to 3 ohms, right? Therefore, Therefore, the equivalent voltage source of the transformation consists of voltage source 30 volts with a series resistors 3 ohms. Just have a look on this. Okay. Another example. Obtain an equivalent current source for the given voltage source. Let us first short terminals A and B and then find the current through the circuit. The current I through the circuit will be given as below. I equal to V by R, V equal to 10 and R equal to 5, 10 by 5 equal to 2A. This means the equivalent current source should be capable of supplying 2A of current. Hence, strength of source will be 2A. Again, the internal impedance resistance of voltage source is 5 ohms. This resistance should be connected in parallel with the current source. Therefore, the equivalent source is given as below. Let's check another example. Convert the following current source to equivalent voltage source. First of all, find the voltage across the terminals of the source while keeping the source terminal open. This voltage V is given as V equal to IR. I equal to 10 and R equal to 10. 10 into 10, 100 volts. First of all, find the voltage across the terminals of the source while keeping the source terminal open. This voltage V is given as V equal to I by IR. Thus, the strength of voltage source will be 100 volts. The internal series resistance of the source will be equal to the resistance of the current source, that is 10 ohms. Therefore, equivalent voltage source is shown as below. Again, discussing about source transformation. A source transformation is the process of replacing a voltage source V in series with resistor R by the current source in parallel with resistor R. V equal to IR or I equal to V by R. Sources are of two types: voltage source and current source. Ideal voltage source and practical voltage source. Ideal current source and practical current source. Voltage source. The voltage source is a passive element which can create a continuous force for the movement of electrons through the wire in which it is connected. It is useful to do a terminal device. Types of voltage source. Independent voltage source. There are two types: direct voltage source and alternating voltage source. Dependent voltage source. There are two types: voltage controlled voltage source and current controlled voltage source. Current source. In an electric network, current source and voltage source are the basic concepts behind many electrical applications. Let's see what is current source. Ideal current source and independent current source. A current source which supplies the constant current to connected across the load circuit regardless of the voltage developed across its terminals. Independent current source supplies constant current to the circuit regardless of the load and the direction of the voltage appearing across its terminal. Next, these are the examples. Let's have a convert the following current source of equivalent voltage. First of all, find the voltage across the terminal of the source while keeping the source terminal open. This voltage V is given as V equal to IR, 10 into 10, 100 volts. Thus, the strength of the voltage source will be 100 volts. The internal series resistance of this source will be equal to the resistance of current source, that is 10 ohms. Therefore, equivalent voltage source is shown as below. Resources. In this link, you can check the resources. With this, I'm closing the session. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.